Public consultations began Tuesday on new LINDEN Bridge. GPHC denounces accusations of negligence. Prison service leaves $400 million surplus for 2019. In the region, Dominican opposition declares victory in coronavirus-hit election. And internationally, border between Australia's most populous states closed. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I'm George Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us. Today is CARICOM Day. The holiday, which is observed on the first Monday of July, celebrates the anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Chaguaramas. The Treaty of Chaguaramas established the Caribbean Community and Common Market, later known as CARICOM. It was signed on July 4, 1973 in Chaguaramas, Trinidad and Tobago. It was signed by Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago. In addition to economic issues, the community instrument addressed issues of foreign policy, coordination, and functional cooperation. Over the weekend, the nation recorded its 15th death to COVID-19. But in this report, Bibi Bacchus tells us that the GPHC is denouncing accusations of staff negligence coming from social media.
Over the weekend, the Ministry of Public Health confirmed 16 new cases of the novel coronavirus, taking the total number of positive cases to 272. The total number of recoveries now stand at 120, as the ministry is reporting that 3 more persons have recuperated from the COVID-related illnesses. However, it was announced that 25-year-old nursery school teacher Donna Greaves of Letem became the 15th death to COVID-19 in Guyana. Hers was the third of such deaths for this past week. She died Sunday morning at the Georgetown Public Hospital, where she was a patient in the COVID-19 intensive care unit since July 1st. Since her death, the GPHC has denounced rumors that Greaves actually contracted the illness at the hospital. In a release, hospital said, "We strongly condemn the proclivity to cast blame on our hard-working and dedicated doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers who continue to risk their lives daily to care for the patients in the wake of a deadly pandemic. This practice of demoralizing healthcare professionals must cease. The corporation continues to practice strict protocols and quality control measures to eliminate transmission and maintain a safe space for our staff, patients, and visitors." The Public Health Ministry also extended condolences to Greaves' loved ones. For Headline News Updates, Bibi Bacchus.
Thanks, Bibi. The Ethnic Relations Commission is once again calling for peace and responsible behavior by all as the nation awaits the final declaration of the March 2, 2020 general and regional elections. Additionally, they have called on persons on social media to cease from divisive language. However, they also took aim at politicians, saying that, quote, "public utterances, including the building of expectations by some officials and their political subjects, have and continue to contribute to the heightening of tensions and a further widening of unwanted division among our people. This is not only extremely worrying due to the potential danger it poses, as our electoral history so regrettably reminds, but woefully unhelpful to the daunting and crucial task of forging harmony so vital at this juncture." End quote. Linden will soon have a new bridge crossing the Demerara River. Here's Bibi Bacchus with that story.
The Ministry of Public Infrastructure will be hosting a virtual public consultation via Zoom tomorrow, July 7th, to discuss plans to construct a new Mackenzie Bridge. The consultation will see the presentation of alternative bridge designs and will allow for questions to be asked and answered, the ministry said. A video released by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure last month showed the preliminary design of the bridge, which includes a roundabout on both the Mackenzie and Wismer side and separate lanes for going and coming traffic. It also is high enough for passing vessels and includes the potential for railway use. Consultations on the bridge began in October of 2019. It will be built in accordance with the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Official Standards. The current Mackenzie Bridge was built in 1960 to connect the Mackenzie and Wismer shores and facilitate the movement of bauxite and vehicles in and out of the nation's interior. For Headline News Update, Bibi Bacchus.
Thanks, Bibi. As the Guyana Prison Service retools itself from a penal institution to a correctional one, it has trained 1,050 inmates in numeracy and literacy, as well as CXC math, carpentry, joinery, electrical installation, and culinary arts. Additionally, 430 GPS ranks received training in several areas, including strategic operations, supervisory skills, mental health, improving the service of care, occupational health and safety, and monitoring and evaluation. The government also reports that an expansion of the New Amsterdam prison will soon be underway to make it compliant with international standards. For 2019, the GPS spent $1.4 billion Guyana dollars of its $1.8 billion budget. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, Brown urged to use softer touch on Liat, and border between Australia's most populous states closed.
Smart Minds Educational Institute, offering preschool, nursery, and primary levels. Finally, a school that is every parent's dream. Located at 69 Crow Street, offering academic excellence, trained qualified teachers, small class sizes, personalized care, and one-to-one attention for your little ones. At Smart Minds, register for full-time or evening classes, daily practice pass exam papers for proficiency at the grade 2, 4, and 6 assessment, and CXC exam preparedness, or join our Becca Phonics reading and writing program. So if your child is for preschool, nursery, or primary level, come to Smart Mind, located at 69 Street, or call 231-4885 or 600-9229 to enroll now.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-stand 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I could do here.
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Singh and I'm the senior teacher at the Literature After School program. Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online side, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379.
I can call them now.
Hidden Treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. The leader of Antigua and Barbuda's main opposition, the United Progressive Party, Harold Lovell, has disagreed with the position adopted by Prime Minister Gaston Brown in handling the situation regarding the cash-strapped Antigua-based regional airline, LIAT. Brown said his island would remain committed to the regional integration movement even as it opposes the decision of regional shareholder governments to liquidate the airline. He also warned that if the majority shareholding group of the regional airline is, quote, opportunistically allowed to collapse this regional institution, end quote, and form a new entity without honoring the airline's liabilities to creditors, this will be a form of state banditry, he said. During Friday's CARICOM meeting, Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, two of the major shareholders of the airline, announced that talks had started with the operators of at least 6 airlines in a bid to provide the services that LIAT had been providing. Opposition candidate Luis Abinader has claimed victory in the Dominican Republic's presidential race. The election had been scheduled to take place in May, but was postponed because of its coronavirus outbreak, the worst of any Caribbean nation. Al Jazeera's Manuel Rapallo has more.
The government of the Dominican Republic eased coronavirus restrictions on Sunday to encourage people to get out and vote in national elections. The Dominican Republic is the Caribbean nation worst affected by the pandemic. Special voting schedules were adopted to account for elderly voters considered more at risk during the outbreak.
I hope that in these elections, the candidate who loses is a good loser, and the one who is elected knows that it was the people who chose, not so he can benefit, but in order to work for the people.
Sunday's national elections were the second since 1994 to elect a president, vice president, both chambers of Congress, and representatives to the Central American Parliament.
The Dominican Republic is living now a unique moment. And I have to say that we are witnessing a major shift in the political parties governing the Dominican Republic, where one party has dominated for the last 24 years. The local elections this March tipped the scales in favor of the modern Revolutionary Party, or PRM in Spanish.
Presidential candidate Luis Abinader, nominee for the Modern Revolutionary Party, was ahead in the polls in the lead-up to Sunday's elections. Having secured more than 50% of the vote, 52-year-old Luis Abinader was announced president-elect of the Dominican Republic. Manuel Rapallo, Al Jazeera.
And internationally, the border between Australia's two most populous states is closing indefinitely as coronavirus infections soar on one side. Al Jazeera's Nicola Gage reports.
Trapped in their homes, unable to leave for any reason, 3,000 residents in 9 public housing towers in Melbourne will remain inside their flats for at least 5 days. An unprecedented lockdown for Australia after the buildings were linked to dozens of coronavirus cases.
It's very, very challenging, but it is far preferable to seeing vast numbers of people with underlying health conditions infected with this virus, spreading it between each other.
For many inside, English is their second language. Food and essential items are being delivered and there's 24-hour police surveillance. But some have questioned the fairness of the tough measures only affecting those in the public housing blocks.
These are massive, incredibly blunt deprivations of liberty, where individuals are now confined to their small apartments, not allowed to leave, except for very few exceptions, and we're not seeing those exceptions being exercised properly at the moment.
Australia has been relatively successful in suppressing coronavirus, but in the past week, infections in the state of Victoria have soared. It recorded 127 new cases on Sunday, prompting the closure of its border with neighbouring state New South Wales indefinitely. This is the first time in 100 years the border between Australia's two most populous states will close. Several towns straddle the two sides. Some residents, though, will be given exemptions and permits, allowing them to travel across. It's a decision that will no doubt be a huge setback for Australia's economic recovery as it heads into a recession.
We have done this based on health advice, and especially given the fact that when our nation had those higher number of cases back in February and March, the vast majority of those cases were from overseas travellers or their direct contacts. What is happening in Victoria is very different, which is why we've had to take this necessary step.
Australia has fared better than many countries during this pandemic, with about 8,500 cases so far. But the Melbourne outbreak has concerned many, a clear example of how quickly this virus can return and spread. Nicola Gage, Al Jazeera, Canberra.
That's all for today's regional and international news. Here is your 3-day weather forecast. That's all for this edition of Headline News Update. Tune in Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Also, visit our website at headlinenewsghana.com for all the news we couldn't fit in the newscast. Until then, take care.